Welcome to my home away from home. I'm the Irreligionist, and this is my lakefront property. Lake Fire, that is. This will be the first episode of a new series called the HellFire-Side Chat, the purpose of which is to get up close and personal with some of my friends and find out what it is they believe and why it is they believe it. My first guest is Jow Silver. Welcome to Hell, Jow. So the first question is, do you consider yourself to be spiritual, aspiritual, or religious, or a-religious?
So this is a fascinating point because I'm still kind of in that evolving stage. Growing up, I used to see things that, of course, my parents told me were spiritual, right?
Oh.
I thought they were ghosts when I first saw them. They freaked me out, and I panicked. But I was like 5 or 7. Whatever, I was a kid. I don't. 5 to 7 it's kind of a gray area. And I've heard a lot of stories of people seeing things, so I think ultimately everything can be explained by natural causes, and if there is quote-unquote spiritual things, it will eventually be explained as a natural phenomenon or other entities we haven't yet discovered. I mean, what did this? Someone said the universe is, the known universe has only explored like a tiny fraction of it. It would be kind of arrogant to think that we know everything and there couldn't be any other, I guess, anything else out there. So I am skeptically spiritual, and that I think there.
Yeah, I was gonna just to clarify. Basically, you're not saying that you don't dismiss things of a spiritual nature out of hand, but you do regard them with a sense of skepticism. You
Right. I'm skeptical because again, the human mind interprets things in a strange way. Again, see what I saw as a kid was interpreted for me by my parents. Right.
So you viewed it through their lens.
Mm-hmm. They told me they were angels, so that's what I believed. Of course, my original thought was ghosts, but I saw these things every night for years, doing the exact same thing. It could have just been a random pattern of something that I was seeing. For some reason, my brain interpreted as images. I don't know what it was. It went away after a little while. If there is any merit to spiritualism, it will eventually be explained by natural causes, whether that be entities we haven't seen before in energy formats we've never known about, or phenomenalism.
So basically, the supernatural couldn't exist because you admit that if it is supernatural, like then it exists outside of nature, and something that exists outside of nature is quite impossible.
Right. If it exists in nature.
Right. So it would be not supernatural, but in fact natural.
Right. Just beyond our current
level of understanding.
Yep. That's my personal theory.
All right. So as I guess would you consider yourself to be more on the agnostic track, or like full-blown atheist? Like where would you put yourself? I know Dawkins has a scale, but where would you put yourself? Like, you don't have to use a scale per se, but how would you view yourself and your religious leanings?
I am quite skeptical, so I tend to be more agnostic than directly atheist. However, as of recently, I have tipped over that little line of, well, there's sort of enough evidence for a God to more of, there's not really any evidence for a God. So I guess I would say probably where Dawkins was in the scale, or one behind him. Because again, I haven't looked at all of the evidence, but all the evidence that I see points me towards there is no God. And the only reason I would believe a God is if I believed the Bible, which I don't believe the Bible. So, point case. So when it comes to the Bible, I tend to agree with Christopher Hitchens about it. But the existence of a God or deism I tend to be probably a little bit behind Dawkins.
What role did religion play in your upbringing, or what role did you feel religion played in your upbringing?
Um, Pretty much my entire upbringing, actually. But let's go back to the beginning. I was born a Messianic Jew, so that's a sect of Judaism that kind of is borderline Christian. They believe that Jesus was the Messiah, right? And was the Son of God. So basic Christianity stuff. But they believe and they keep the Jewish customs and the Jewish law. So of course, we celebrate all the feasts, say like Hanukkah, Purim, all of those great things, Yom Kippur. I could name them all. You probably wouldn't know what I was talking about, but for lack of better terminology, I was raised Jewish. My parents were both converts to Messianic Judaism, and so they of course had been Protestant beforehand. So stuff got bad in the church because what happened was one guy wanted everybody to be more Jewish and got really hardline on it, like really stingy. And he publicly shamed my father a few times in front of everybody, and we left. So my mom basically went right back to being Protestant. She was raised Baptist and stuff, so she's very strict in religion. Growing up, we didn't have TV. We didn't have any fiction books in the house. We didn't have any. I think I had 30 minutes of computer time per week. We were homeschooled, and almost no outside influence other than my parents' religion.
Why do you think you've come to your lack of belief in God, or at least the God of your parents?
That does help a lot, because funny thing, when we switched churches, right? Like I said, my mom just jumped back into being Protestant without just like that, right? For my brother and I, we were remarking about this a little bit later. We actually thought of ourselves as Jews, like full blown 100% Jews. My mom was just sort of like, it's a Jewishy expression thing, and she was more of, it's Christianish, right? Because of her background, super Christian. And so my brother and I were kind of like, well, we're not Christians, we're Jews, right? And that caused problems going into other churches. But overall, I never really saw myself as a Christian or as that sort of thing. I saw myself as a Jew. And when I got old enough, I decided I wanted to be a theologian, right? Or philosopher. So I started reading up on all my dad's philosophy books. It made me think. So I thought, I want to write a book. I want to be a theologian. I want to basically reinterpret the Bible for kids my age who can't understand it, right? At one point, I decided, okay, if I'm going to be a theologian, I need to know who I'll be up against, right? And I started researching atheists on YouTube. I ran into like Armored Skeptic, the Bible Reloaded, and then of course Christopher Hitchens, Richard Dawkins, and all the others.
The OGs, as we call them.
Oh yeah. Oh geez, what's that stand for?
Original gangster.
Original.
That's an old school term, man. That's from the 90s. Don't even worry about it.
Oh, back when I was still just
knee high to a grasshopper.
Yeah. Anyway, right. So I ran into them and I started thinking, okay, how do I take down their arguments? And so the more I started listening to Hitchens, the more he made me rethink. And what I mostly thought was the moral argument. And this was around the validity of the Bible, the argument that the Bible must be true. It's the basis for our morals. It's the basis for everything, right? Without it, we wouldn't have morals. And he basically sat there and without without blinking, basically said, no, the Bible's evil. And I'm like, well, obviously you're stupid. You don't know what you're thinking. But then I went back and started reading the Bible and was thinking, oh shit. How do you reconcile that with modern morals? And I guess that led me down the rabbit hole, trying to disprove Hitchens. I eventually came to realize that I was wrong and he was right. That was the first seed of doubt Hitchens sowed. And it had to be Hitchens to do that. I wouldn't have listened to anybody else's argument. I mean, Hitchens took no prisoners. He left no shot wasted and took no prisoners. I mean, but once that bit of pride of that self sense of superiority is gone, and you're like, well, maybe I don't know. And then you actually go objectively look at the facts in a new light, and you start seeing everything different.
What, in your opinion, is some of the benefits of being non-religious or an atheist or agnostic?
Overall, if you can break out of that human mentality of needing some sort of higher order than yourself, it's really good. Good for you, I think. Not being deluded. I think there's a part of the human mind that I think overall it's mostly an immaturity thing. They turn to religions. They turn to religions into ideologies, feminism, Marxism. Having a quote-unquote people is very important, especially in places where humans, they don't accept each other. A lot of people look for that in religion, look for that in feminism, and it comes along with a lot of extra baggage of ideological poison, I guess you could say. I think it's very beneficial if you can surpass that.
In your opinion, what role should religion play, if any, in schooling or in the raising of kids?
I don't mind other people having their toys. And I don't mind them playing with their toys and passing their toys on to their children and letting them play with their toys if they do it in their own home, in their own space. But don't come to me. Don't come to my house. Tell me I have to play with your toys. I have to respect your toys. And don't you dare try to give them to my kids and tell my kids they have to play with those toys. You're talking about it. There's nothing I love more than talking about religion. Or talking about theology, talking about philosophy. I absolutely advocate for it. What I don't like is this attitude of, well, I believe this thing and you're not teaching it in the schools, and I think evolution is wrong, so you have to respect my religious beliefs and stop doing that. That I have a problem with. I don't know why. Maybe it's a little bit totalitarian for me.
What role should religions have in government or politics, do you feel, as an atheist or as an agnostic?
I feel it is imperative to any state to be free from religion. I think, take America for instance. You have freedom of religion, but people should remember that it also means freedom from religion. Right? It allows people to have the freedom to believe what they want, but that inherently means you don't have the freedom to force your religion on anybody else. I don't mind Christians. I don't mind anybody being in government. The founders of America were quite right when they allowed for the freedom of religion, but it should be also remembered that there should be freedom from religion. People are completely within their rights to believe any religion they choose, but those religions are not within their rights to completely act upon their beliefs. And the reason for this is simple. Many religions have as their ancient tenets such things as self-mutilation and mutilation of others. Some call for the death of apostates or heretics. Such things cannot be allowed in civil society. The rights of the religious cannot infringe on the rights of the non-religious, but so often it is the case that these completely polarized beliefs go head to head. Basically, when you have so many different people, different religions living together, you can't have any one religion getting in charge and legislating from that religion. So yeah, I guess I could say I prefer politics to be godless.
If there's any other point you wanted to elaborate on or discuss that you feel like we haven't really covered, or if there's some inspirational words, whatever.
Inspirational words. Let's see. Just remember, kids, when you die, that's it.
So don't die.
I guess I'd say a healthy dose of agnosticism is good for anybody. You know, the minute you can admit that, well, I might be wrong. I'm only human, right? You've actually become just a little bit more intellectually honest with yourself, and that is the first step to actually thinking and being rational. And no matter if you choose to believe one book or another book, you can still be rational about it. And I encourage everybody to pursue reason, to pursue critical thought, to pursue just wisdom overall, and not to just think that, okay, well, I've always been this way. I know that's true. I know I'm true. I know I'm right. Don't ever think that.
The only thing scarier than a lack of belief is the totality of one.
Yep. Yeah.
So, yeah. All right.
Yep. All right. Well, catch you later, dude.